Hey, everybody. Welcome to Teddy's Couch Talk. This is our inaugural podcast episode. Thank you for joining us. We are going to use this platform to spread awareness, discuss controversial topics, and hopefully make you laugh from time to time. I'm sure we're going to have bumps in the road along the way, but we hope you enjoy each episode. Please make sure you like, share, and subscribe. And of course, our video podcast will be posted on YouTube. Today we have Dad on the podcast as our guest to talk about the good old debate of adopt versus shop. Welcome to the podcast, Dad.
Hey, Teddy. Thanks for having me.
So you're here to talk to us about adopt versus shop, a debate that has been going on for a long time now. Where do you want to start?
So we're going to start talking about adoption. We're going to use the U.S. as our statistics because it's more readily available and it's quite the large pool, sample size, whatever you want to say.
That sounds reasonable.
So for shelters, they get about 3 million dogs a year in the U.S. That's insane.
Seriously? 3 million a year?
Shelters just can't handle that. They're constantly out there looking for donations so they can provide the food. As much as they do as they can, the living condition isn't great.
Well, of course, their resources are limited, and they have to keep them in kennels of some fashion because they have so many dogs.
Yeah, I know. And you know why there's so many dogs in these shelters, Teddy?
No, why is there so many?
Because of backyard breeders. Because dogs like you and other small, cute dogs, or whatever the fad is of that time, are worth a lot of money. So people sit there in their homes breeding them and don't do the genetic testing that is done or make sure that they're breeding healthy dogs. So especially when it comes to bronchial dogs like yourself, you get a lot of dogs that are actually unhealthy.
Well, why don't they just do testing? Like, isn't it in their best interest to sell the healthiest dogs?
It's a good question, but unfortunately they don't. And what they do is when they get these unhealthy dogs, they dump them. And that's why these shelters are so full, is because all these backyard breeders that either have unhealthy dogs or dogs they can't sell or dogs with bad temperaments, they'll just take them and dump them off at a shelter.
Well, that's not fair to those dogs. They didn't do anything to anyone.
No, it's not fair. It's not fair to the animals. It's not fair to the shelters. It's not fair to any of it. So that's definitely an issue that we need to try to deal with.
What other issues contribute to overpopulated shelters?
The other issue with the shelters is that people will take a dog because they want to have this companion or whatever the scenario and why they get the dog. And then they find that they can't keep them. Like maybe they like huskies, but they live in an apartment in New York City and don't realize that a husky needs to run and get out there and can't just be cooped up in an apartment all day. Or other breeds of that similarity. Or maybe they're an active person and they get a couch breed. Whatever the scenario, the dog doesn't work out for them. And they think, oh, well, I'll just take it to the shelter. Or they move and they don't want to transport the dog. There's so many just abandonment ridiculousness that's just filling up these shelters.
Would you ever send me to a shelter?
Never. Even if we lost the apartment, we're going to be living in the car together.
Camping in the Tesla. Why should people adopt?
Another big reason to adopt is the worldwide overpopulation. I guess the States takes in 3 million dogs in shelters every year, but worldwide there's 200 million strays, and many of them are living on the street with horrible conditions.
Holy cow, that's insane. So we can adopt from other countries?
Absolutely you can.
Is there any other issues that contribute to this problem?
Of course, we come back to the breed issue of these accessory dogs. You know, dogs like yourself or Frenchies or, and I'm not downplaying Frenchies. Frenchies are amazing dogs, but they can have health issues, they can get expensive, and unfortunately, people don't always keep them.
Crazy someone could just give them up like that.
Like I said, they're also an expensive dog, so that's when you get these backyard breeders that are just breeding more and more dogs to make more and more money, and unfortunately, a lot of them end up in shelters.
That's really sad. Well, that covers the adopt argument. Now, what about the shop factor? What are your thoughts on breeding dogs?
Well, at the end of the day, there is over 100 million dogs in the United States alone. So the demand for dogs exceeds the amount of shelter dogs that there are. That being said, there's not enough people that are getting from shelters as opposed to breeder, which is why we are euthanizing so many dogs every year. But
what?
there still is a demand for good, ethical, quality breeders.
People also want to get a fresh puppy at 8 weeks old they can raise and even just watch grow up.
That's true, Teddy. They do want to have a puppy sometimes, and you can get puppies from shelters, but I can also understand wanting to raise that dog from fresh. So, and you're never going to turn people off of that. So there's always going to be a breeding aspect. Because if there was no breeders, then there'd be no dogs, right? The shelter dogs would get eaten up real quick, and then there'd just be no dogs, and we can't have that.
No, we definitely can't have that. So what about these backyard breeders?
Well, as long as there's money to be made, there's people that are going to do it. You know what I mean? Like, doesn't matter how illegal it is, like, people are always going to make money.
So what is the solution to fixing this problem?
Well, one of the main things we need to do about this issue is severe regulation and registration of breeders. All breeders are going to need to, register with a government body or some type of list. They're going to have to follow strict guidelines when breeding with their genetic testing, making sure they're only breeding what they can sell, blah, 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 blah. There should be a list of different things.
Blah, 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 eh? Is that a technical legal term? I'm just kidding with you, but on a serious note, like you said, if there's money to be made, there will be people making it. So what do we do to stop them?
There should be massive fines and jail time for unregistered breeders. And there should be massive fines and jail time for people in possession with a dog purchased from an unregistered breeder.
Can you elaborate?
So even if the breeder is able to do a couple of litters and get the dogs out, if you have a dog, you will get a special card or something, say from a registered breeder. If you don't get these cards, or if you don't have a way to prove that your dog has come from a registered breeder, you will face the same kind of penalties.
So is there no other way to get a dog then unless it's from one of these registered breeders?
The only way that you could have a dog that wasn't from a breeder, like say you're still adopting, is if it went through a shelter, because then the shelter's going to give you its own card.
Oh, well, that makes a lot of sense. If the fines and jail time was high enough and long enough, hopefully it wouldn't be worth it for them to continue breeding. Is there anything else you'd like to add before we let you go?
At the end of the day, we need to have more compassion for these wonderful animals. They literally save our lives every day. So what else can we do but try to help them? There's so many of them starving and dying for no need.
People are going to argue that there's humans that are in need in the same way. What do you say to that?
Yes, we do. But people are going to continue to reproduce. We can regulate this industry. We can regulate this problem by stopping all these backyard breeders and all these people that just think it's fun if their dogs just have a litter, or are irresponsible enough to have two opposite sex dogs, one not fixed and unattended.
Yeah, that's definitely a stupid problem to have. If you're going to own an opposite sex dogs, at least one of them should be fixed, or they just can't be left unattended. Accidental pregnancy shouldn't be.
These are massive issues that need to be taken care of.
Couldn't agree with you more. Well, that's where we're going to end it today. I think you've made some excellent points on why we need to adopt, and yet how we still need to shop. The industry needs a massive overhaul and massive regulations and consequences. Thank you for coming on today, Dad.
Well, thank you.
Thank you for all tuning in. We hope you enjoyed it and will share this with your friends. We also hope to see you on our next episode of Teddy's Couch Talk. Make sure you like and subscribe so you don't miss any episodes. Ciao for now.